Okay, so this is packet number 1. This is day number 2. We're going to work a couple problems. I want you to turn all the way to number 19. I think it's actually on this page. And what I want you to think about first on number 19 is not picking out the right answer, but getting rid of wrong answers. Because sometimes you get stuck, but if you can narrow it down, you're way more likely to pick the right answer. So this says that f has to be continuous. So are there any places where f is not continuous, therefore not my answer?
B and D.
B and D. Those are not continuous. So those cannot be the answer. Okay, the next part is what really we're going to answer. It says this is not differentiable. So between A, C, and E, which of those is there no derivative? A, because of the cusp. And you may have been able to figure it out without going through these steps. I just wanted to kind of show you a strategy. All right, I want you to turn all the way to the very last question, number 26. By the way, on this problem, on the AP test in 2012, part A was just to find the derivative, find f prime. And if you did that correctly, you got 2 points. We'll probably see that on tomorrow's packet. And so 2 points, really not that bad to come by. This isn't a horrible derivative to do. It's a chain rule. And then part C was worth 3 points. Okay, it may seem weird to you, but they're problems that we're going to practice a lot, and I know you guys can get if you study it, okay? So for part C, we're trying to figure out, is G continuous? This is when we do the whole 1, 2, 3, okay? Especially because it says use the definition of continuity, and if you want to look at your green sheet to remind you of the definition of continuity, please do that. So is G continuous? First off, what do we need to find? Yeah, find out if the limit exists, which in this case with a piecewise function, it means find the left-sided limit and find the right-sided limit and see if they're the same. Okay, in a piecewise function, one piece is going to be for the left, one's going to be for the right, and you just got to look at that x less than to figure that part out. So see how this says f of x? This is the only weird part of this. It's just saying, hey, use the function at the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug -3 into this function. Now, I see a double negative. Does that mean plus?
No.
Why not?
You're exponent.
Yeah, there's an exponent in there, and PEMDAS says we got to do that exponent first. So it ends up being 25 minus positive 9, which is 16, which square root you get 4. So that's the left-sided limit. Right-sided limit comes from the other piece. And again, we're just plugging -3 in for x. Now the left-sided limit's 4, the right-sided limit's 4. So we can say that the limit with no plus or minus of g of x is equal to 4. If you want to write exists, you can. We talked about that yesterday. You don't have to. But you can write that. You kind of actually almost want this not to work, because then you can just say, therefore not continuous. All right, but most of these end up being continuous. All right, what are we doing in part 2? The point. So we're doing, oops, there should be a negative right here, sorry. We're doing not f of, I'm getting distracted here. Okay, we are going to do g of -3, because we're trying to prove that G is continuous. Now, we already know that it comes from this equal to. Okay, so I already know that it equals this piece. If you didn't show all this work, that would be okay. As long as you're showing that G of -3 equals 4, you're good. And so the limit exists, the point exists. Now we need to say that those two things are the same. And notation is the key here. Make sure you're using G and not F. So we showed all the work. If you stop here, though, you're not going to get all the credit because we didn't actually answer the question. So what do we do now? G of x is continuous. If you just wrote G, that would be fine. If you abbreviated continuous, that would be fine. And you don't need to write a because or anything because this is your because. Okay, so that was just one more of those definition of continuity proofs. So your homework is or classwork really, about 10 minutes, and homework is to finish this packet. Oops, sorry.